Hi everybody, I'm making a challenge lock today. Thought I'd go through the various steps you can do to make your own challenge lock. It's by no means a definitive guide, but it's just a way of doing it. And there's other bits and bobs that you can do, and steps you can miss as well, depending on your skill level and how hard you want the lock to actually be. Obviously you need a lock to start with. I'm using a €0.5 5-pin Caesar. I've cut this in half from a full euro. I do recommend cutting this part flush. When you initially cut it, you may find you get this kind of sharp bit on the back, and it doesn't look very good basically, and it can be hazardous to your fingers. Now the bitting for this lock is not that interesting, so I've got another key here which fits the lock, but it's a much more challenging bitting, so I may repin this along the way to match this more challenging key. So some tools that you'll need to make your own challenge lock: a pair of thin nose pliers, and a plug follower of some sort. This is a homemade one, made out of a piece of dowel with taped up to just make the diameter match the shell that I'm using. A tap, that's used for threading the chambers in the shell or the core. Pair of tweezers, preferably pinning tweezers. Those are not pinning tweezers, but if you can get hold of some proper pinning tweezers, they really do help. And a set of needle files, which will be used to customize the pins in the lock. And finally, a rotary tool of some sort. Most people have Dremels. This is a different brand, but some kind of tool for spinning the pins in, so you can then basically make your own lathe, and then you can cut grooves and what have you in the pins. A cordless drill would do just fine, provided it has the appropriate chuck. So the first thing to do is to get the base lock apart. First of all, let's get the circlip off the back. It can be a little bit fiddly. You line up the edge of the circlip with a gap. You can then just open up the circlip a bit. Do the same on the other side. You can get a special tool for doing that. I don't have one. This is where having a key is useful. If you don't have a key, you have to pick the lock, otherwise it won't come apart. So put the lock in, just rotate it around so that where the driver pins are is a solid bit of the core, and nothing that the driver pins can pop up into. Just put the plug follower on the back, hold it all together. There's all the key pins falling out. Okay, I lost a couple of those, it doesn't matter though. It's all coming apart anyway. Okay, I don't have a pinning board, but this piece of paper can suffice. Okay, so there are the pins. Let's just get the springs out. They're all the same. Okay, next step is to thread the core. Pretty easy this, if you've got a tap with an appropriate handle. Just screw in the tap and just back it out occasionally just to get the swarf out of the way. You don't have to go all the way in with this, because it's this side, the outside, that you want the actual threading. And do be careful not to go in too far, because you can damage the warding inside the core. And just do that with each of the chambers. Okay, so that's what a threaded core looks like. I'll give that chamber 2 a bit more. It's actually okay, it's just the light. Okay, I'll get this cleaned up and we can move on to the next step. Okay, let's have a look at these pins again. I've swapped out 3 of the original driver pins for just standard pins, and one of the key pins, which was the anti-drill pin. Yeah, I've left 2 spools in there just because I like spools. Yeah, I just think they're really great, particularly these Cesa ones. They're a nice, nice deep cut on them. Okay, so let's start with key pin 1. Just put that in. This is the rotary tool, by the way. Just put that in head first, so the back of it is poking out a little bit. Got the chuck nice and tight. Now do for this, make sure you always put your eye protection on. Now for these key pins, I'm going to use a triangular file. Yeah, just make sure you've got a good solid hold on your tool there. The idea here is to make a kind of cone shape at the end that leaves a little kind of a lip right on the top of the key pin that will catch on the should catch on the edge of the shell or the core. Let's have a go at that. See that properly on the camera. It's not quite how I intended, but anyway. You can see a bit more of a cone shape on there. And a little lip. Okay, let's have a go at doing a driver pin. Same routine as before. Just pop them in the tool there. Leave as much poking out as possible. I'm going to try and make a kind of hourglass type pin. And for that, you need a round file. Make sure that's in there. Okay, so that's created a kind of hourglass shape on that driver pin. So I'm not going to do all of them on camera, but it's just worth experimenting with different shapes of file. You can actually use a hacksaw blade to create kind of reasonably thick serrations if you want. Yeah, just let your imagination go, really. The key thing though is to remember what you're trying to achieve, and that is to cause the pins to catch in the shell or in the actual lock. So having little sharp bits on the pins will catch on the threaded parts particularly. Alright, these are the finished pins ready to go back in the lock. You can see I've serrated all of the key pins, and yeah, just done various things to the driver pins. Another thing you can do is swap out some of the springs. There's 2 of the original, and put 3 other types in there, just to vary the picking experience a bit. And all that leaves is to get the lock back together. Now I've put all the key pins back into the core there. You can see them all flush with the core with the key in there. I'm going to take the key out now. Just be careful not to tip the pins everywhere. Put that on one side. Now the first pin, which is actually the front pin, is the easiest, because you've still got access to the front of the lock, which is the far side from your point of view. Make sure you've got the back of the lock on this side and the front this side, if you're right-handed, that is. And make sure the vice is done up too, it helps. Okay, first thing to do is just put the spring into chamber 1 at the back there. Depending on your spring length, this will be easier or harder. Shorter springs will make it a bit easier. So this is where having pinning tweezers really helps. I'm going to get the first driver pin. And just push that through. Can't see it from there, but that's holding that just in the chamber 1 on the shell. The next thing we're going to do is just insert the core, again making sure that it's a flat part of it is at the bottom and no bits that the pins are going to spring up into. So while holding the pin, just push that in, and I don't know if you can see that. That is the core is now holding that pin in place. So the next thing to do is just push that pin down and just insert the core a bit. So that's now being held in place by the core. The next chamber is the trickiest. Let's see if I can do this on camera. So let's just pop the spring in there. And now it's just a case of repeating the process, getting the pin right at the end of the tweezers, looking down the hole there, pushing it into the relevant chamber and pushing the core in, just to hold it in place. Now that's held in place, I can now push the driver pin into the core and then slide the core over it. Okay, so all the pins are in place there, and then the next thing that you really must do is actually make sure that the lock is locked up by rotating the core that it clicks. Otherwise it's all too easy to pull the thing out and then the core slides out and all your pins go everywhere, and that can be quite annoying. One of the final things to do is get your circlip from earlier, and just pop that back on. Yeah, getting the circlip on nice and flat is quite important for smooth operation of the lock. Next thing is the big moment does the key work in the lock. A little bit stiff to start with. It should turn after a minute. There we go. It sometimes doesn't work just initially while the pins are settling. There we go. Normally what I do at this point is see if I can pick it myself, and if I can't after say 10 minutes or 5 minutes even, I call it a success. And that is a way of making a challenge lock. Just one thing left is to give it a number or a name, and send it out to your friends. I hope that's been of some interest. Thank you for watching to the end. See you again. Bye for now.